Hi there, welcome to Polyphonic Tarot. Today we're going to be doing a quick 3-card spread for a client who wishes to know what their prospects are for finding work in February or in the near future in general. So I'm not going to actually pull a significator for this person just because I've read for you several times before. I'm not too worried about. Plus it's only a 3-card spread, so I don't really feel the need to use a significator too much for this, but let's go ahead and give it a shot. So again, we're asking what the querent's prospects are for finding work in the month of February. Or by the month of February, I should say. Okay, so it's only a 3-card, and we have the Tower, the 8 of Wands, and the Princess of Discs, with the 5 of Discs on the bottom. Okay, so based on this immediate my immediate reaction to these cards is that the chances of you finding work by February are not are perhaps not quite as likely. You seem to have a very unstable foundation currently, and I believe it's probably a financial thing, but I think there's more to it than that. I also think there's kind of an emotional component there too. I just don't think that you feel all that right lately. You feel disconnected in some way, and you're just sad at the moment. Things just aren't going all that well at the moment. Now, the thing is, what I'm getting is that what you expect to maybe do. Perhaps this is the issue. What you expect to maybe find work in is not what you possibly will find work in. Meaning the field that you're looking in may not be the field that you will find success in by the month of February, since that's the question. Not that you won't ever find success in the specific area that you're looking in, but by February, whatever expectations you have for the month of February are likely to just unfortunately collapse under you. Now, this isn't necessarily the be-all and end-all of the situation, because you do also have the 8 of Wands with the Princess of Discs. So, at the same time, I think that that there will be opportunities for you to to go through a bit of a growth process. I think that it's an opportunity for you to I don't want to say develop your skills, but the Princess of Discs is, of course, all about in situations such as this. The Princess of Discs is about self-development and taking one's time and going about things very patiently, which is contradictory to the idea of the 8 of Wands, which is all about rapid motion and getting things done very quickly. I want to draw some more cards for this because this is not particularly clear, and I may end up having to do another reading for this to try to answer your question a little more clearer, because this isn't quite specific. It just seems to be in the negative for the answer to your question. But at the same time, again, with the bottom row, just to say what we just pulled, we have the 2 of Discs for the Tower, Knight of Cups for the 8 of Wands, and the Hermit for the Princess of Discs. And the Hermit and the Princess of Discs already go along very well together, and I think that does speak to what I was just saying about going through kind of a self-development and sort of a period of self-reflection. I think the best thing for you to do, given what this says, or just I think what you're going into a phase of needing to reflect more on what your goals are, and where you want to place your action and place your energy. Um, yeah, I think the tower is really dragging us down here. But at the same time, it does say that there are opportunities for you to act upon your passions, on your creativity. I think the Eight of Wands with the Knight of Cups, it tells me that there will be opportunities coming up for that, for you to be active and for you um, to do things. But it doesn't seem to be, something about all of this is not quite in the way that you anticipate it to go. The tower is a little scary, to be honest, as far as your financial situation coupled with the Two of Discs. I would be a little concerned about that. I think the other important thing for you to do is to be very frugal from now through the winter, about how you manage your funds. And yeah, I think the Princess of Discs in conjunction with that is really saying that you're going to have to kind of go through a hibernation period. That's really what that's saying to me. You need to take some time for yourself and to worry about you right now. It's very important that you focus on you and your needs, your basic needs. Um, yeah, gosh, I'll do one more row here. Okay, we got the Star, the Ten of Wands, and the Prince of Discs. And the overall card for the last one, or the overall advice or focal point, is the Four of Swords. Well, the Star is a great card to receive after kind of meditating on how icky the Tower can be, particularly in situations such as this, where you already feel destabilized in your foundation. The Tower is coming to kind of mess that up even further. However, there is a very important aspect of it that is going to shine through with the Star. Whatever bumps and hiccups you're about to experience in terms of career, it is important for you to see them as possible turning points for you to change directions or change gears, and to be more imaginative and more hopeful about what your prospects might be elsewhere. Um, the Ten of Wands is an interesting card to receive for the Knight of Cups in this little column here, because it tells me that there's sort of a burdensome aspect of this Knight of Cups and the Eight of Wands, which is describing, I get that it's describing your work in the immediate future, which is more, I think the types of jobs that you're going to be doing for the next few months are going to be, they're not going to last very long. There's a lot of energy here of, finding things to do, but they don't necessarily last or turn into anything long standing. And I think that's the problem here. And I think that that's really what the Tower is getting at here, is that, I don't think that it's not that you're going to be able to find things to do or find work. It's just none of it is going to be long term. And you're looking for something that's much more stable to solidify yourself and to solidify your life. But I think it's saying that the way you're going to best go about doing that is really through self-reflection and working on yourself. And I don't know what that means exactly for you, but it just, you need a period of, you need a new vantage point, honestly. You need to step back and reevaluate the situation, and and also just be patient with it and just keep building up your foundation. I think you need to. I mean, if I can share with you a little bit from my own personal experience, and my own experience with these cards in relation to career, because I have also received these cards myself in similar situations, and I think the best thing for us to do in these situations, is to just keep looking for those opportunities to build things, and even if they aren't necessarily um, long lasting, even if they are kind of transitory, as long as we see them as stepping stones towards building either a better resume or building greater diversity of experience or just building up your own skill set, I think all of that is very important for you right now. Because that's how you create a bridge into something more long standing. I think it's not going to happen right away for you. I mean, clearly that tower is just putting the kibosh on of um, a lot of, I guess, whatever stability is left in the situation, which really there isn't a lot. You with that 5 of discs on the bottom of the deck, just this whole situation is very tumultuous right now. Um, which is also why I think it's important for you to not act out of emotion so much. And I think that that's also what the Princess of Discs and the Hermit is going to bring into your life as the winter goes on. I think your first reaction is going to be to act out emotionally as a reaction, because there's just so much destabilizing you and so much that's causing you stress right now. And so your part of this Knight of Cups thing um, is not just that is not just saying that there are opportunities to find work, but also it's just there's this emotional reactiveness to this whole column here, and it's one that's very hard on people, and it's very difficult on the world around you. It's creating a very negative energy because there's so much pressure on you, and um, I think part of this shift of perspective is trying to see as best as possible how the shifting aspects of your situation right now are attempts to get you to open your open up your mind a little bit more, and to open up your perspective, and to open up what you think your options are. I'm getting that whatever obstacles you're coming across are life's sort of little alarm bells trying to tell you that maybe whatever it is that you have been trying to push yourself into is either you're not quite ready for it and you need to do some other things before you get into that field, or what was I going to say? I lost it. Shoot. Um, either there it is. Either you aren't quite ready for it, or it just isn't quite what you should be doing at the moment. And unfortunately, it doesn't really say what would be a better alternative other than the Princess of Discs, the Hermit, and the Prince of Discs. Which, again, all of those cards are so practical. They're very, very practical. I mean, prudence is the overwhelming message of this column here. Now, your overall card, to kind of summarize I guess the closest thing to advice usually is what I read this top card as. The Four of Swords is all about compromise and all about finding peace. And I think that if I remember correctly, you have No, maybe that's another person. Um, I just feel like whatever is causing this tension in your life, either, and I think part of it is being brought on by your relationships with other people too. I just your relationships with other people right now are just really hairy with this Three of Swords and the Seven of Wands. There's a lot of hurt that you have right now, and I think you feel very unsupported by the people around you, which is also not helping. So I think the other thing is, what the Four of Swords is getting at is that it is important for you to try to make peace with those people, whoever they may be. And I think part of the way you're going to be able to do that is to follow the advice given here, or follow whatever current this is bringing into your life here, the current of practicality, of prudence, of patience, of continuing to work hard, and just being very deliberate in your actions, but also not very emotional. Being very objective about how you make your decisions about your career. And also I mean, all these cards also speak so much of self-reliance. The Hermit is so much about that. So again, I don't know if possibly some of your financial constraints are coming as the result of other people who are at the same time not necessarily supporting you emotionally or otherwise. But I think you if that is the case, I think the Four of Swords is getting at that you need to establish some kind of boundaries with these people, and you need to come up with rules for dealing with them. If I remember correctly, there are some issues with your parents, and your home life is because of that, is a little strained, if I remember correctly, and please forgive me if that's not quite right. But I believe that is something that I have read about with you before. And if that is still the case here, then I think you really have to try to establish some kind of truce with them, and the truce needs to not be all about them. It needs to be equal for you as well. It has to be fair for you. Because you really need to build yourself back up here, or you need to there's a huge emphasis here on being very practical and just working your way through whatever problems come your way, whatever upsets or unexpected happenings happen through the month of February. I think it's important for you to really try to not overreact to them, and to not just to try very hard to remain calm through them, and see whatever upsets come as opportunities more than hindrances, and to just use it as a period of reflection and self-work. I don't know. I think there are a couple of themes here that I've been talking about that are all pretty relevant here. I don't know. I think elementally your reading is very interesting, just because it isn't all bleak. To be very honest with you, it just isn't. I don't think it's all that bad. I do think that eventually you're going to be able to find something for yourself. This column very much speaks to that. That with time and patience and calm and prudence, that with those things a career could open up for you. But you need to be in the right state of mind in order to find that, if that makes sense. And yeah, I just think that that's very important, to find the right state of mind. And I do think it's interesting how under pressure the Knight of Cups is elementally. The Knight of Cups is surrounded by fire in his column, and so your your creativity is going to be under tremendous pressure to perform and to have results. And I think it's saying that it's important for you in the next few months to focus more on the growing process rather than the actual results of anything. That you can't get too frustrated with yourself or with your craft if the results that you are specifically looking for do not necessarily come through, because it's very likely that they will not. And I think that's also what the Tower is getting at too. I think you have a very clear idea of what it is you want or what you expect to get out of your work, and the chances are it's not necessarily going to come exactly the way that you have planned. So rather than get upset about this, it's important for you to see them as, again, steps in the growing process, okay? Um, and that's really all I've got about the situation from the 3 card reading, which of course is more like a 10 card reading, but I still consider it a 3 card reading because obviously we're dealing with three main ideas here. Um, so I hope that makes sense. I just I honestly I get I get a mixed vibe from this reading. I do. I get kind of an equal balance of good and bad. And maybe that's also having to do with that Four of Swords bit there. Or rather, the Four of Swords is connected to that concept, that the situation really calls for you to be as fair as possible and to be as calm as possible, um, and to try to take the bad with the good, and to try to balance them as much as possible, to see them as necessary components of the overall situation and of your overall development. Um, but it's just important for you to remain calm mentally. Um, yeah, that's about all I've got, I believe. So I think it really behooves you to really um, act in a certain way, and to um, be very just be very very practical about the whole thing. It's calling you to do to just um, remain focused and patient, because I again, with that mixed vibe, I think it really could go either way. It really depends on your perspective, has a lot to do with it. To be very honest with you, I think your perspective has a lot to do with it, and I think it's why, and that's just become because of the major cards that you have in this reading: the Tower, the Star, and the Hermit. Those 3 cards have so much to do with individual perspective. If we were to just talk about those 3 cards as the overall themes of the reading, while the Tower does represent upset and destruction, it is largely based on whatever preconceived notions of reality or the situation or whatever outcome you expect for the situation. It's largely wrapped up in the destruction of those things. And with the star is the ability of one to widen their perspective, to see all different possibilities as equally important, and um, full of opportunity. To see the world as full of opportunity. So it's very much the opposite of the Tower. The Tower is very myopic expectations, and the Star is very big expectations for all sorts of things. And the Hermit is also a kind of perspectival card, because the Hermit's perspective is all about his own little world, and keeping his perspective focused on his own path and on his own resources, and really growing and cultivating those aspects of himself, um, and using that perspective to kind of literally shine light on whatever darkness is in the situation. So I do think that as the month progresses, and you kind of try to ground yourself better, things are going to eventually open up for you. You just have to be open to them, and be willing to try them. All right. So I don't think it's really all that bad. It doesn't have to be, is what I think the overall message is. It really doesn't have to be all that bad. And I think there are a couple of things that I've said that are important for you to reflect on personally, which is, again, also, this whole row is about you reflecting. I can't stress that enough. So and that period is coming, based on this, as far as an evaluation of your upcoming career path. So I hope this makes sense, and I hope you find it helpful. I apologize for the lateness of this reading. Month of December is crazy for me. It always is annually. But anywho, I hope you found it helpful, and I appreciate your patience in waiting for the reading. And I really wish you the best of luck, and happy holidays, of course. If you have any questions, please let me know. Let me know if I can do anything else for you. And as always, it's a pleasure reading for you. So thank you very much, and all best. Bye-bye.